Have you ever had that feeling you're not quite alone, even when you are? I'm not talking about a haunted house here. I'm talking about a ghost that lives inside the machine. And by machine, I mean the incredibly complex one right inside your own head.
You know what I'm talking about, right? That moment you're alone and you could swear you hear a faint radio playing, but then you realize, nope, it's just the air conditioner. It can be a little unsettling, for sure, but it's also a massive clue about how your brain is secretly working behind the scenes.
So there's actually a name for this: auditory pareidolia. Now, it's not a hallucination, which is when your brain just makes up a sound from nothing. This is more of an illusion. See, the sound is real. It's the fan, it's the static, it's the running water. But the meaning we hear, that's our brain getting creative and just layering it right on top.
So why on earth do our brains play these little tricks on us? Well, the crazy thing is, it's not a bug, it's a feature. And to really get it, we've got to go way back in time and look at the ancient survival software that's still running in our modern skulls.
Okay, so check out this table. It basically breaks down a life or death decision our ancestors had to make, like, every single day. Just imagine you're out there, you hear a rustle in the grass. If it's a tiger and you think, whoa, danger, that's a hit. You run, you survive. Awesome. But if you hear that same rustle and just go, it's probably nothing, that's a miss. And, well, your dinner. Now, what about the other way around? What if there's no tiger, but you freak out anyway? That's a false alarm. That's our pareidolia. And what's the cost? Maybe you look a little silly, you get a bit jumpy, that's it. So evolution basically did the math and said, you know what? It is way, way better to be jumpy and wrong than to be calm and dead.
And this whole survival strategy led to something scientists have a great name for: a hyperactive agency detection device, or HADD for short. Basically, our brains are just hardwired with this crazy bias to assume that any weird, ambiguous sound was caused by an agent, something with a mind of its own. A creak in the floor isn't just the house settling. Nope, it's got to be footsteps. That howling isn't just the wind, it's a voice.
And this points to a really fundamental truth about how we experience the world. Your brain isn't just a passive microphone, okay? It's not just recording what's out there. It's an active prediction machine. It's constantly guessing what it thinks it should be hearing based on everything it's ever learned, and then it just uses the sounds coming in to double-check its work.
So what happens when the sound coming in is just a mess, like the whirring of a fan? Well, your brain doubles down on its best guesses. And what are the absolute strongest, most rehearsed priors that it has? For us, as super social creatures, it's the sound of other people, their voices, their music. Your brain is basically trying to jam the square peg of random noise into the very familiar round hole of a human sound.
Okay, and I really want to stress this. This is totally 100% normal. The key difference between something like pareidolia and a more serious clinical condition, which you can see here, it really all boils down to one simple word: insight. You have insight. You know it's just the fan. You know it's an illusion. You can even test it, right? You turn the fan off, the voice is gone. Your connection to reality is totally solid.
Okay, so our brains are automatically trying to find a story in random noise. But what's really wild is that we humans took that unconscious instinct and we turned it into a conscious art form. We deliberately engineer these same kinds of layered patterns into our most important cultural works, like literature. I mean, just think about a classic like Frankenstein. It's not just one story, is it? It's like one of those Russian nesting dolls. You're reading the story of this explorer, Walton, who's listening to the story of the scientist, Victor Frankenstein, who is then listening to the story of the creature he brought to life. See? Each layer gives the next one a whole new layer of context and meaning.
And this structure, it's the exact same instinct we've been talking about, just put on the page. Just like our brain layers the story of a voice on top of the raw data from a noisy fan, a great author layers these frames of narration, Walton's letters, then Victor's tale, then the creature's account, to build a reality for the reader that's way deeper and more complex.
And believe me, this is not some weird niche literary trick. It is a fundamental storytelling tool that you see across all of human history, in every culture, from ancient epics like the Odyssey all the way to modern classics like The Princess Bride. We are just creatures who build meaning in layers. It's what we do.
All right, let's go to the deepest layer of all. This pattern-making drive is so fundamental to who we are that we've literally baked it into the most logical, structured things humanity has ever created: computer code.
Check this out. It's a direct comparison. We've been talking about the brain's priors, right? Those built-in rules it uses to make sense of the world. Well, a programming language like Python has the exact same concept. They're called built-in functions. Just think of them as these pre-written little rules or shortcuts that tell the computer how to understand really basic ideas. They are the absolute bedrock of its digital world.
And you totally don't need to be a coder to get this. For example, there's a function called bin. It's just a super simple pre-written rule. All it does is tell the computer, hey, whenever you see a number like 3, this is the one and only way you're ever going to translate it into binary code. The computer doesn't have to figure it out every single time. That rule, that little story, is already built right in. It's a foundational prior for the machine.
And it's these super simple, preset rules that become the ultimate building blocks. They are the priors of the entire digital universe. By layering these simple instructions on top of each other, millions and millions of times, we build everything from the app on your phone to the most complex artificial intelligence.
Okay, let's take a step back and tie all these threads together now, from the hum of a fan all the way to a line of code. So it all starts deep inside our own heads, with this ancient unconscious survival instinct to find meaningful patterns in the random noise of the world around us.
Then we take that exact same instinct and we turn it into art. We deliberately build these layered patterns into our stories to create worlds that are richer and more meaningful.
And finally, we take that logic to its absolute peak, and we formalize it into the very foundation of our technology, where we build entire digital universes from the simplest possible set of rules.
So from neuroscience to literature to computer science, the story is exactly the same. This compulsion we have to find a signal in the static, to layer meaning onto raw data, it's not a bug in our system. It seems to be a core feature of what it even means to be an intelligent, meaning-seeking being.
And that leaves us with one last really big question. Our brains are hardwired to tell stories, right? Whether it's about predators hiding in the grass or ghosts humming in the machine. So if finding patterns is our default setting, how do we ever learn to tell the difference between the stories that are true and the ones that are just phantoms? Something to think about.